It's always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin. And we always want to remind you that we are brought to you by our good friends at Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's heating and cooling experts. Daryl, I'm not looking forward to this week. I do want to dive a little bit more into what the Browns are actually doing. So, is there a chance that there's no chance the Browns bring in a quarterback on Tuesday? Is there? If they
Well,
think none,
yep.
and what's the feeling on PJ Walker?
Well, PJ Walker's on the practice squad, so the only way they think that the Browns would bring in another quarterback is if Deshaun is headed to injured reserve, because then the
Okay.
roster spot opens up. You elevate PJ Walker, bring somebody else in to be on the practice squad. So you have two quarterbacks on the active roster, and then PJ is on the practice squad. I just don't see them having two quarterbacks on the practice squad right now. So that's the roster math.
Gotcha. All right, and then DTR takes the snaps again. So this offense has to get ready for DTR against San Francisco's defense.
Well, here's the thing. Like, hopefully Kevin Stefanski's learned his lesson, right? And he has two game plans that he works on this week. One if Deshaun is available, and one if DTR has to be thrown to the wolves. So, because let's be honest about it, the 49ers aren't beating people, they're mauling people. Their average margin of victory is like 20 or close to 20 a game. Actually, it's I want to say 19.8 to be very specific. They're 0.2 of a point shy of beating opponents on the average. Now you say, well, they blew out the Cowboys by 32 points on Sunday Night Football. That kind of skews the numbers. Well, let's see. They've won by 23.
Here we go.
They've won by 7 points, 18 points, 19 points, and 32 points. So their margin of victory has increased 3 straight weeks. And, oh, by the way, they are scoring no less than 30 points in a game. Actually, their average is 33.4, but they've scored 30, 30, 30, 35, and 42. So could be a long afternoon for that Browns defense again.
So I think I heard 5 points seems to be the differential between these two teams as of today. I've heard friends.
Well, the line was 3.5, and then it moved to 4.5. I haven't. I don't do any the gambling. I've never.
I don't either, but I heard 5 today.
Has it moved to 5? Okay.
Is it trending towards 5? It might be even 4.5. Daryl, I don't know how.
I'm surprised it's that close.
I am too, and I don't know if that's a lot. Is that based on Deshaun? What is that based on? Like, I wonder how Vegas figures that out.
Browns defense, I guess, getting a lot of love from Vegas or the bookies or whoever sets those lines. But I am really surprised that the line is that close, considering Deshaun is banged up. Don't know if he's going to play. The 49ers are just absolutely destroying teams. They score a ton of points. They don't give up a lot of points. Their defense is giving up on average less than 14 points per game, 13.6. That's what opponents are scoring. They gave up 7, 23, 12, 16, and 10. So they're not giving up a lot of points in San Francisco either. So that is a lot of love and a lot of respect. Browns fans always talk about how the national media or whatever doesn't show the Browns respect. And my response always is, well, the Browns don't give the national media any reason to show them respect, number one. But in this case, whoever is setting these betting lines gave the Browns a ton of respect by starting that line at 3.5. That's for sure.
Or they're just trying to get the money moving on the game because there's no money moving on the game because it feels like a blowout.
Yeah. Oh, this totally feels like it's a blowout in the making. But any given Sunday, the Browns have the advantage of the fact that the 49ers have to come east. This is basically a 10 a.m. game for San Francisco to play because it's a 1 o'clock kickoff here, 10 a.m. over there on the West Coast. So, anything can happen. That's why you play the games. Hey, if Deshaun can't play, look, DTR could probably, maybe he goes out and he makes all of us look really silly for, anticipating that he's not going to play well or he's going to play as poorly or worse than he did against the Ravens. San Francisco forces a ton of turnovers. The Browns turn the ball over a ton. Like, when you just take a step back and objectively look at this matchup, there's blood in the water right now. And the 49ers are the Sharks coming to feast. But anything can happen. My God, the Ravens kicked the you-know-what out of the Browns, and then they go to Pittsburgh, and they can't do anything. And the Steelers couldn't do anything until like the fourth quarter. And they were able to find a way. And I guess that's like one of my biggest things with Kevin Stefanski. Find a way, dude. Like, should have found a way against the Ravens. I know you got a rookie quarterback, but I don't know, find a way. Unfortunately, when you talk about Browns football over the years, Andy, and I get criticized a lot because I'm always bringing up the Browns history. Well, it's not my fault that the Browns history is slop. It is what it is, right? I mean, I can sit here for a half hour and just pontificate on every devastating loss this franchise has suffered since 1999. Every ridiculous finish to a football game that they have endured. I can only think of one or two, quote unquote, positive signature. Man, I'm going to tell my kids about the Browns winning that game. Like, there aren't many of them since 1999. There haven't been many. Oh, there's no way that the Browns should have won, and yet they found a way to win those games. To win that game, right?
Yeah. So I'll bring up an interesting point here just for a second. That I listened to the end of the Ravens Steelers game on the radio driving through Pennsylvania.
I watched the end of it.
Yeah, and then I went back and watched the end of it. And
it was just as bat bleep crazy as you heard on the radio.
But what was really like hit me hard was they kept talking about the rivalry, yeah. And it was
Baltimore stole the Browns and stole the Steelers rivalry too.
I mean, it sucked the life out of me listening to the end of that game because I was like, that's our rivalry that got stolen away. No matter what, if the Browns couldn't win at Three Rivers or not, and I don't know. I was getting,
what I love hearing?
I was just getting bummed out about
it. When Bernie goes out and actually he did this in front of a Steelers Browns backers crowd.
I heard this a couple weeks ago.
He goes, the Steelers have all these great eras and that Super Bowls in every era, except for the one era where I just kicked your ass every year. I love that.
We need one of those.
But it's true, right? I mean, pre-Bernie, Steelers won, a bunch of Super Bowls. Post-Bernie, they've won Super Bowls and owned this rivalry. But the one era that the Browns really owned, Browns v. Steelers, was the Bernie Kosar era. I mean, it was so fantastic. He's like, yeah, I kicked your ass every year and you couldn't win Super Bowls as long as I was playing. I thought that was spectacular. But look, I mean, Steeler fans are still, even after beating the Ravens, they want to run Mike Tomlin out of town. They've been wanting to run Mike Tomlin out of town for the last 10 years.
It was unbelievable what I was hearing. I was in a hotel and it was just saying, hey, I'm kind of happy the Steelers won because it mucks up the AFC North. And, everyone's got 2 losses now. And now we'll see what happens to the Browns if they can try to turn things around. I think it was good for the Browns.
That Steeler win actually helped the Browns, believe it or not. In the grand scheme of things, that Steeler win over the Ravens helped the Browns. So I guess Browns fan owes Steeler fan a hearty thank you.
Yeah, because the thing was, it was so funny. I'm like, they're like, oh, Tomlin should have been gone 10 years ago. We're done with him. We want him gone.
He's never had a losing season.
I would kill for 2 seasons of him here. Kill.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine? Let's dip into fan. We're really going to go into fantasy land on this podcast for a moment here.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the Browns having 2 winning seasons back to back? This is a franchise that can't win 5 games in a row. They've not won 5 games in a row in the expansion era. Their longest winning streak is 4, and I think they've done it like 4 or 5 times. They can never get to 5 in a row. Could you imagine if the Cleveland Browns had 2 winning seasons back to back? I mean, forget
we would all be doing rhythmic chanting. We'd all be doing Super Bowl
parades, statues, Hall of Fame petitions. Like, could you imagine 16 consecutive non-losing seasons for the Cleveland Browns? Can you fathom that? Could you fathom the last 25 years of crap, but in reverse? Like 25 years.
Yeah, it's called Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and Steeler fan wants to run this guy out of town. Now, look, there was some bizarre coaching that went on, or not only just in the NFL, and in Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh. But even college, some of these decisions, I'm like, I'm not qualified to be a head coach. But again, you know my rule, Baskin. If Daryl knows it, if Daryl sees it, that means you should see it and know it as well. And there were just some situations. I'm just like, how do I know this stuff? But these guys who are making millions of dollars, like take that Miami game, take a damn knee. What the hell you doing, Hannah? Talking about, I feel bad for my guy Alonzo Highsmith down at the U. Am I doing that right? Is it this? Is it that?
Yeah, it's close.
It's that? That okay? I feel bad for my guy Alonzo down in my he probably had a coronary watching that the end of that game, right? You can't lose that game. I mean, Steelers and Ravens, some of the coaching did. I mean, going for it instead of taking a field goal at the end of the half. What is John Harbaugh thinking, right? But I mean, again,
how about the Steelers getting that illegal formation call, and then giving the Ravens one more chance?
Oh man, yeah. Yeah. How about that? How about not trying to just like run the clock out there, force the Ravens to burn through their timeouts? Instead, they had to kick a field goal and kick the ball. I'm like, you got to kick a ball. Like the last
that illegal formation, that stopping the clock killed them.
I know.
The radio team was like, they were awesome with like a minute left to go or a minute and a half left to go. They were like, and the Ravens are not flying anymore. All we got to do is run this clock out. And then all of a sudden, like, oh boy! All right, all right. Let's just keep going here.
There are two dudes in the NFL you want the clock to read all zeros for, and that is Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. And you know what? Maybe a third dude in there, Josh Allen. But like, you do not want to leave time on the clock. You do not want to give these guys an extra possession. Are you out of your freaking mind? I don't care if you kicked a field goal to, but like. Yeah, so I fully expected the Ravens to come back and win that game on that final drive with less than a minute to play. I'm like, Lamar's going to go down and score a touchdown and beat these clowns. I thought for sure that was going to happen. So
but their defense played pretty well again, just like they did against Browns.
Yeah,
all right, let's take a quick timeout. Let's come back, Daryl. I want to talk a little bit more about what happened at camp on Monday, at Browns camp on Monday. So let's do that when we come back. It's always game day in Cleveland.